Mycenae, Tiryns, Mydea. Mydea is the third most powerful center of the Mycenaean Argolid after Mycenae and Tiryns. It dominates the east recess of the Argive plain. It is surrounded by an imposing Cyclopean fortification, and it is connected to the rich Mycenaean cemetery at neighboring Dendera. The Acropolis was founded on a 268-meter high hill. Its strategic position, with an unlimited view, allowed it to control the entire plain and the roads that led to it, as well as the Argive Gulf. This greatly contributed to the development and flourishing of Mydea during the Mycenaean period, especially in the 13th century BC, when it developed into a center of great power, a stronghold.
Ιδίως κατά το 13ο αιώνα, οπότε εξελίσσεται σε ένα πολύ ισχυρό κέντρο φρούριο. Το 13ο αιώνα π.Χ. κτίζεται το κυκλόπιο τείχος της Μυδέας με μεγάλους ογκολίθους όπως οι οχυρώσεις των Μικηνών και της Τύρινθας. Περικλή έκταση περίπου 24.
The Cyclopean wall at Mydea was built in the 13th century BC of large blocks like the fortifications at Mycenae and Tiryns. It encloses an area of about 2.4 hectares. It has a length of 450 meters, and today it is preserved in places to a height of 7 meters. The original wall is estimated to have been 12 to 13 meters in height. Two monumental megalithic gates led to the Acropolis interior, the East Gate, where we are now, and the West Gate, both built at crucial points in the fortification wall. The East Gate was a simple opening in the wall. We should note that at this point, the wall is at its greatest width and that a megalithic ramp led to the gate.
Και στην πύλη αυτή οδηγούσε μια μεγαληθική ράμπα. Διατηρείται έως σήμερα το κατόφλι της Ανατολικής πύλης, κατασκευασμένο
The East Gate threshold is preserved to this day. It consists of an enormous monolith in which the socket for the doorpost can be seen.
Τα ερείπια που βλέπουμε εδώ αποτελούν ένα σύμπλεγμα κτηρίων.
The ruins we see here comprise a complex of structures that were built at various phases during the 13th century BC. The most important of these is the rectangular building you see with slabs in the interior. It was built during the second half of the 13th century BC, and it is in the form of a megaron.
Είχε χτιστεί κατά το δεύτερο μισό του 13ου αιώνα και έχει σχήμα μεγάρου. Οι ανασκαφές έδειξαν ότι και ο χώρος αυτός στην αρχική του μορφή, δηλαδή όταν πρωτοχτίστηκε στο δεύτερο μισό του 13ου αιώνα, πρέπει να έχει...
The excavations have shown that this area too, when it was first built in the second half of the 13th century BC, must have had this plan, with 4 columns in the center and a hearth. At the end of the 13th century BC, however, it was destroyed, suffering great damage due to the earthquake that occurred at Mycenae at that time. It was later rebuilt in a new form as a long, narrow space. The hearth was removed, as were the 4 columns, which were replaced by a central colonnade that supported the roof. Still visible in the interior are the slabs that supported the columns, which must have been made of wood. In terms of its significance and function, this is a very important building for Mycenae. It must have been used for administrative purposes, but it cannot be identified as the Mycenae Palace, which will have been at the top of the hill, as were the palaces in the other 2 citadels of Mycenae and Tiryns.
Με το ανάκτορο της Μηδέας, το οποίο πρέπει να ήταν στην κορυφή του λόφου, όπως και τα άλλα ανάκτορα στις άλλες 2 Ακροπόλεις, τις Μυκήνες και την Τύρινθα. Η δυτική πύλη της Ακρόπολης της Μηδέας σχηματίζεται ανάμεσα στην απόλυξη του νοτιοδυτικού σκέλους της οχύρωσης και του απόκρημνου βράχου που ορίζει την Άνω Ακρόπολη. Στην πύλη αυτή οδηγούσε ένα μονοπάτι από την Πεδιάδα και φαίνεται ότι εδώ έφταναν τα προϊόντα της καλλιέργειας στην Πεδιάδα.
The west gate of the Mycenae Acropolis is formed between the end of the southwestern section of the fortifications and the sheer rock which forms the boundary of the upper Acropolis. A path led to this gate, and it seems that the agricultural products produced in the plain were transported and received here, arriving either by pack animal or brought by the Acropolis inhabitants themselves. The gate has a spacious gateway with 2 steps at both entrance and exit, and it is protected by a strong and massive bastion made of enormous blocks. There was a room within the thickness of the wall. What we see today must be the basement. There will have been a second or even third story above this space. It was, of course, a guardhouse, but at the same time it served as a storeroom, perhaps the initial storage place for the products that arrived at the gate, where they will have been received by employees appointed for this purpose.
Και γίνονταν η παραλαβή τους από τους εντεταλμένους υπαλλήλους για αυτό το σκοπό. Είναι πολλά τα κοινά σημεία μεταξύ των 3 μεγάλων κυκλόπιων ακροπόλεων.
The 3 great argolid cyclopean citadels at Mycenae, Tiryns, and Mycenae have many things in common. Since the early Mycenaean period, they shared responsibility for control and exploitation of the fertile Argive plain, to which indeed they owed their wealth and power.
Στην οποία βεβαίως χρωστούσαν τον πλούτο και τη δύναμή τους. Οι Μυκήνες ήταν φυσικά το ισχυρότερο κέντρο, Αυτό το γνωρίζουμε από τον πλούτο τους και από τη θέση που έχουν οι Μυκήνες στο μύθο και στο έπος.
Mycenae, of course, was the most powerful center. We know this because of its wealth and the status of Mycenae in legend and epic. Agamemnon, king of Mycenae, was of course the commander-in-chief of the joint Mycenaean-Greek expedition against Troy. Tiryns also was very important because it had the port of the Argive Gulf directly under its control. The Mycenaeans and the Argolid probably owed a large part of their wealth and power to this port and to their ability to communicate with the Aegean and more distant regions, in fact, with almost all of the Mediterranean.
Η Μηδαία είχε επίσης μία πολύ σπουδαία στρατηγική θέση ως προς την αργολική πεδιάδα και
Mycenae too held a very important strategic position in relation to the Argive plain and commanded an unhindered view in all directions. It was therefore able to control a large part of the plain with its agriculture and supervision of livestock. It appears that flocks of sheep and goats grazed on the slopes of Mount Arachneon. Mycenae must also have had control of the road that led by way of Mount Arachneon to the east coast of the Argolid, much as it does today, where there must have been some very important Mycenaean settlements. During the so-called Palatial period in the 14th and 13th centuries BC, all three citadels, Mycenae, Tiryns and Mycenae, were fortified using the same Cyclopean system. The first two, Mycenae and Tiryns, were fortified during the 14th century and Mycenae in the middle of the 13th century BC. Apart from the common typological features of these citadels, namely the fortifications, the monumental gates and the terraces, there are also similarities between the burial monuments of Mycenae and Mycenae.
Δηλαδή την οχύρωση, τις μνημειώδεις πύλες, τα άνδυρα. Υπάρχουν επίσης ομοιότητες μεταξύ των ταφικών μνημείων των Μυκηνών και της Μηδαίας. Ήδη από το τέλος της Μεσολαβικής εποχής και την πρώιμη Μικηναϊκή εποχή, το νεκροταφείο των Δενδρών
From as early as the end of the Middle Helladic times and the early Mycenaean period, the Dendera Cemetery was what may be termed the royal cemetery of Mycenae. The burial tumuli at the Dendera Cemetery may be compared to the royal tombs of grave circle A and B at Mycenae and are practically contemporary with them.
Α και Β των Μυκηνών και είναι σχεδόν σύγχρονοι. Ο θολωτός τάφος του νεκροταφείου των Δενδρών
The Tholos tomb and the 16 chamber tombs of the Dendera Cemetery are comparable to the richly furnished Tholos and chamber tombs of Mycenae, and the finds from the Dendera tombs are of an importance and value equal to many of the rich finds from the tombs at Mycenae.
Είναι εφάμιλα σε σημασία και σε αξία με πολλά από τα πλούσια ευρήματα των τάφων των Μυκηνών. Τα χρυσά και αργυρά κύπελα, οι σφραγιδόλιθοι,
The gold and silver cups, the sealed stones and weapons, the large bronze vessels that were found in the tombs at Dendera can be compared with corresponding finds from the tombs in Mycenae.
Εδώ όμως πρέπει να πούμε ότι από το Μικηναϊκό νεκροταφείο των Δενδρών έχουμε ένα από τα πιο σημαντικά
At this point, we must note that the Mycenaean cemetery at Dendera has yielded one of the most significant works of the Mycenaean civilization, the bronze panoply. It has been possible to restore it to its original form, which covered the Mycenaean warrior's entire body. This work is one of the most significant finds that have come from the excavations of Mycenaean sites.
Το έργο αυτό είναι ένα από τα πιο σημαντικά ευρήματα που μας έδωσαν οι ανασκαφές των Μικηναϊκών θέσεων.